So for this session, we are going to focus on the ISO 45000 or ISO 45001. So up till now, we have discussed about the OSHA's 18001, which is focusing on the occupational health and safety elements. Then we have discussed about the ISO 14001, 2004 and 2015, which is focusing on the environment management systems. And now we are going to discuss about the ISO 45000. So what exactly the ISO 45001 is? So this ISO 45001 comes into exist from March 2018. It is finalized in 2017 and it comes into exist from March 2018. So it is another a part of environment management system, quality control systems of various subjects and topics under the various courses. So what exactly this ISO 45001 is? A new international standard for OHS management systems. So it is focusing on the occupational health and safety topics, elements, and it is OHS management system, right? So these are the different factors involved in the presentation. That is why the need for a new international standard, because already OSHA's 18001 is there. So why there is a need of this new international standard, that is ISO 45001. How has the ISO 45001 standard been developed? What is the content of ISO 45001? How does it differ from OSHA's 18001? And what are the latest timescales for the launch of these new standards? Transition to ISO 45001. So these are the different points covered under these presentations. So let us discuss first what exactly the ISO 45000 is. So natural progression from British standard OSHA's 18001 2007, OSHA's 18001, 90,000 certificates, 120 countries, 40 variations of standards are involved for this OSHA's, and lobbying for an international SMS standard. So need to harmonize various OHS standards and share good practices, standardizing the global approach to benchmarking, improving the health and safety points, then provide a framework for local regulatory compliances. We already discussed about that OSHA's 18001 is a specification. It is not a standard. And that is why from this OSHA's 18001 2007, there was a need of one standard, and that is why this ISO standard comes into exist. So this ISO 45001 focusing on the OHS elements, because when we are discussing about this OSHA's 18001, there are very less companies which are going for this OSHA's 18001 because it is not a standard. When if you compare this standard certified companies and this OSHA's 18001 certified companies, then there is a huge difference due to one of the element that this OSHA's 18001 is a specification and not a standard. And that is the main point, or that is the driving force to design, to develop a new standard for occupational health and safety elements. And it is also supports for a global approaching system, for benchmarking system, for health and safety. So it provides a framework for local regulatory compliance. That is nothing but the ISO 45001 need. Now in this 45001, development of the new standards. So ISO Project Committee 283 Development Committee established October 2013. So OSHA's 18001 is redesigned or changed in the 2007, and after some years in the 2013 this committee is formed for designing a new standard for the occupational health and safety elements. So 65 member countries represented by 90 delegates, HS1 British Standard. Committee acts as a UK forum for consultation, collaborative, consensus-based approach to the development, closely aligned to ISO 9001 and ISO 14001 standards. Standard will be reflective of Annex SL management systems, standard for the ISO standards. New concepts will be included as individual explicit clauses, context of organization, leadership, worker participation, support, that is resources, information and communication, competence and awareness. So you can understand from these topics or the elements that this is a new standard where some of the points are added as compared to this OSHA's 18001. So this is similar to the ISO 9001 and ISO 14001 because it is a family of ISO standard. So obviously it is similar to 9001 and 14001. But some points like this context of organizations, leadership, etc. are added. It is similar to the ISO 14001. We have already discussed about this ISO 14001 2015 where these points are added. That is context of organization, leadership, supports, etc. Now, what this Annex SL, a high-level structure for all future ISO standards, contains, there are 10 clauses. It is similar to the ISO 14001 clauses. So first is scope, second is normative references, third is terms and definitions, fourth is context of organization, then fifth is leadership, sixth is planning for management system, seventh is support, eighth is operation, ninth is performance evaluation, 10th is improvement. So all these clauses are included in the ISO 45001. Now we know that in the ISO 9001 as well as in the ISO 14001 there is a PDCA cycle. In a similar way, here also there is a PDCA cycle. So this plan, do, check and act. So these clauses clearly indicates this P. So this P stands for this plan. So this fourth, fifth, sixth and again overlapping of this seventh. So this is included under the planning. So context of organization, leadership, planning for the management systems and some support part is the part of planning. Now do part, that is nothing but the seventh partial part and some operation part. So here action is there, that is why this operation is covered under the do part. And then check activity, so we have to check the performance, we have to check the implementation execution part, which are the valid inputs from the internal and external agencies. So that should be checked and that is nothing but the performance evaluations. So under this C, that is check part. And then act, so that act is nothing but the after performance evaluation, what are the gaps, what are the deviations. So we have to bridge that gaps or we have to close that gap. For that purpose, we have to correct some task and that is nothing but the act action, that is called as improvement. So here continual improvement is again needed in the ISO 45001, right? So these are the 10 clauses and PDCA cycle involved under this ISO 45001. Now this current structure of this ISO 45001 released in the March 2017 and then they have published the document where they are clearly indicated that this ISO 45001 should be implemented from the March 18. If you are having already OSHA's 18001 2007, then you should convert this OSHA's 18001 to ISO 45001 before March 2021. So that is the task, that from March 18 to March 21 you have to go for ISO 45001 if you are having already OSHA's 18001. So the features are 10 clauses, 42 subclauses, 39 annexures, guidance on intentions rather than the implementations. So here the guidance is on the intentions rather than the implementation. That is the main task, and that is why here 39 annexures are included in this ISO 45001 is there. Then British Standard 45002 is UK guidance on implementation of this ISO 45001. Then clauses are 4, 10 will be from basis of accreditation to ISO 45001. So we are not going to focus on this 45002, we are going to focus only on the 45001. So this is the PDCA cycle, which clearly indicates what exactly is going on, what should you plan, what should you act, what are the different elements which involved in this PDCA cycle is. So this is related to the occupational health and safety elements. So this PDCA cycle is related to the occupational health and safety management system, right? So if you observe this plan, you can understand. Then this after planning, this doing activity, this check, and this act again. So this planning includes the clause number 6. Then the support from this 4.2, that is needs and expectations of interested parties. So we have discussed these points in the ISO 14001 also. So needs and expectations of interested parties. So that parties may be internal parties, that may be external parties, that may be consultants, that may be regulatory agencies, etc. So whatever the points they have expected, they have needed, all these points gives us some result and conclusions, and on the basis of that only, for implementation and execution of these valid points, we have to plan, and that is why this planning is supported by this 4.2 clause. Then internal and external issues also gives us some points to plan and implement and execute something. So before planning, before executing or implementing some points, we have to plan for that purpose. So these are the two inputs from the 4.2 and 4.1, so that on the basis of that point we can plan. We have to decide the targets, objectives, etc. as far as this occupational health and safety management system is concerned. So after planning, we have to do, we have to act. Then for that purpose, support and operations, that is clause number 7 and 8 is included. And for this purpose, we can refer these elements like 4.3 and 4.4, where the scope of the occupational health and safety management system is elaborated, right? So on the basis of this support and operations, we can go for the next level, that is performance evaluations, that is under clause 9. And on the basis of this performance evaluation, you can understand the intended outcomes of these OHS management systems. So after this performance, after this implementation, after this execution, after this running the the systems and evaluation of this performance of the systems, you can opt for the outcomes of this management systems that is related to OHS. Then after that evaluation and outcomes, we can go for the improvement. Suppose these outcomes are not satisfied the requirement of this ISO 45001, then you can get some gaps. So that is nothing but the gap analysis. So to bridge this gap, we have to go for the improvement part. And this improvement is nothing but the continual improvement, because there are always some of the gaps, and only in the ideal condition there is no gap or the gaps are closed. But in a practical situation, there are always some gaps, and these gaps are showing that there is always scope of improvement, and that improvement part can be taken or converted into the action part. So we have to communicate all these parameters, all these clauses, all these PDCA elements, and this is nothing but the leadership and worker participations. So leadership is nothing but that leader is nothing but the project manager. So top management is going to decide a project manager, a leader for this purpose, for management system, that for OHS management system, and some teams can be finalized under this project manager. So the particular member of the expertise of the department of different sections can be a part of this team, and this task work can be performed under the guidance of this leader. So that leader should be a good knowledgeable person, a practical person, and he or she should have all the economical as well as technical feasibility knowledge. So all these things can be included in this leadership, and this leader, the leader can communicate all these things to the worker, to the top management for the better performance. So this is the PDCA cycle of this ISO 45001. Now clause number 1 is scope, then clause 2 is normative references, and clause 3 is terms and definitions. And likewise, we can discuss the various clauses included in this ISO 45001. So clause 1 is a scope of ISO 45001. So in this, applicability of standard, where this standard can be applicable. So you have to check the applicability of the standard, then intention of the standard, then exclusions to standards, that is specific performance criteria, design of OHSMS, product safety, property damage, etc. should be identified, then enablement and compatibility. So whether this standard is applicable to your industry or not, that is the first criteria. That is nothing but the eligibility. If it is applicable, then what is the intention of this standard? Why we are going for this ISO 45001? So that intention should be clear, and whether this standard is compatible to the other standard is, so that is nothing but the compatibility. So if you are already having OSHA's 18001, then whether this ISO 45001 is compatible with OSHA's 18001, with ISO 9001, with ISO 14001. So all this compatibility should be checked, that is covered under the clause 1, that is nothing but the scope. Then clause 2 is nothing but the references. Now the clause 3. So there are terms and some definitions are given under this clause 3. So interested party. So we have already discussed that interested parties are the parties that may be a regulatory agencies, that may be DISH officials, that is Department of Industrial Safety and Health officials, that may be DG FASTCA officials, that may be some central government agency, that may be state government agencies, that may be a pollution control board officials, that may be a consultant, that may be a third party, that may be companies which are always interested in your organizations or which are having MOU with your organization. So these are nothing but the interested parties. Worker, we all know each and every employee is nothing but the worker. So each and every employee is having the rights to communicate regarding the occupational health and safety in their organizations. Then participation. So in the decision making involvement, the workers representative, the managers, management representatives, the government representatives, the safety representatives, and the manager from the various departments are involved in the decision making. So that is nothing but the participation. Then consultation, that is seeking views before making a decisions. So if all the inputs are collected, information is collected for finalizing some decision. So before finalizing that decision, we have to take the view from the internal as well as from the external parties. So the expert person, so third parties can take their view for that particular decision, and after that green signal from all the stakeholders only, we can go for the final decisions. Then this top management is always there to finalizing this type of certifications, applications, finalizing some decisions, finalizing some the leaders for a particular task, etc. So top management always supports from the financial point of view as well as from the technical point of view and from the motivation point of view also. Then OHS opportunity, circumstances that can lead to improvement of OHS performance. So that OHS opportunity can be identified by this team. What are the opportunities are there means positive points. in the occupational health and safety elements and their continual improvements. So after the certification also, there is a scope of improvement. There are always gaps which are not satisfied the specific requirement of that particular standard, that is ISO 45000 in this case. So for that purpose, we have to take some actions. We have to plan something else for the corrective actions. That is nothing but the continual improvement. Then under clause 4, context of the organizations. So understanding the organization and its context. So that is the main point. So as far as this occupational health and safety is concerned, you should understand what exactly the process is, what are the different departments in your organizations are, what are the activities and operations involved in the particular section or in the department, because we are going to focus on occupational health and safety. Suppose in some of the activities, in some of the operations, if some fumes are generated, if some unsafe condition is created in some of the departments, by some of the people, by some of the workers, if some unsafe acts are going to do, then there may be chances of incidents or accidents. So we have to understand the historical data, we have to understand the current situation, we have to understand the current operations, current parameters, and current conventional techniques which is already adopted by the organizations. So on the basis of that only, we can understand what exactly the hazards present in the organization, risk present in the organizations, what is the level of that risk, how to control that risk, how to minimize that risk, and etc. Then understanding the needs and expectations of workers and other interested parties. So some workers may suggest you something like that these ergonomic conditions or the gesture and posture is not appropriate for me or for a particular person, because I have some medical complaints like back pain or shoulder pain, etc. Then some workers may ask you to purchase some personal protective equipment like breathing apparatus or gas mask or cartridge mask, etc. Because we are concerning about the occupational health. We are also concerned about the chemical exposure in the work environment, in the processes, in the wastewater, in the effluent, in the air, etc. So whatever the inputs given by the workers or some interested parties are also can give their input for understanding the occupational health and safety elements. So we must understand their needs and their expectations to achieve the safety practices in the organizations. Then determining the scope of the OHS management systems. So we have to determine the scope of OHS management systems, and this management system scope is decided on the basis of current organizational processes, current practices, then current practices of supervision, observations, then needs and expectations of workers, etc. So this management system can be decided under the clause number 4.4. So this is the context of organizations. We already discussed about this internal and external issues. So the workers issues or the employees issues are nothing but the internal issues. And if some social issues are there or some complaints from other agencies which is not related to your industries are nothing but the external issues. So air pollution, and that air pollution may adversely impact on the area nearby your industry, that is nothing but the external issues. So likewise, and some issues may be a regulatory issues, some issues are legal issues, and some issues are technological or economical issues. Then we have to understand this needs and expectations, and we have to determine the scope of these management systems. A key requirement of this NSHL context of organization is politics, economy, social, technology, legal, and environment. So there are different elements covered under this context of organization, that is special. So this P stands for political, this E stands for economic, S stands for social, T stands for technological, L stands for legal, and capital E stands for environmental. So these are the different elements which are covered under this context of organizations. Means we have to think of government type and policy, funding, grants and initiatives as far as this politics is concerned or political issues are concerned. Then inflation and interest rate, labor and energy cost should be thought of when the economy is a parameter. Then the population, education, media, lifestyle, fashion, culture should be thought of when the social concern is there. Emergencies, technologies, web, information and communication, this is the part of technological issues. Regulations and standards, then employment in law, amendment in laws and rules, that is nothing but the legal issues. Weather, then green, ethical issues, pollution, waste, recycling, all these parameters are covered under the environmental issues. And all these elements are covered under the context of organization. So you should understand your organization from all these points. Then clause 4.2, understanding the needs and expectations of workers and other interested parties, that is organization shall determine the other interested parties relevant to HSMS, the relevant need of workers and their interested parties, which of these needs and expectations are legal or other requirements. So these 2 points we have already discussed, that whether the points or inputs from the workers, then it is called as interested parties, that is internal, and this may be a external. So some points are legal, some points are rules and regulations. So that is essential or mandatory requirement. So that should be covered under the clause number 4.2. Then clause number 5, that is leadership and worker participation. So we have already discussed about this leadership. So whatever the commitments given by the top management through this leader, through this project management, that should be maintained and followed by the team members by the direction of this leader. So that is leadership and commitment. So we have to decide some occupational health and safety policy. In this policy, we have to write some sentences, some wordings, elements, etc. And all these things can be finalized after the discussion with the internal communication and with the external communications. So the parties involved may be internal parties, that may be external parties, that may be consultants, etc. So after the views of each and every person, this policy, that is occupational health and safety policy, can be decided. And after finalization of this policy, we have to decide the different roles and responsibilities, accountabilities and authorities. So some of the members should accountable for maintaining this particular task. So say for example, LOTO system is implemented in the organization, that is one of the part in the policy. So how to maintain that LOTO policy is accountable and responsible person should be assigned for that particular task. If suppose that some work permit system is implemented, which is given under this OHS policy, then that work permit system responsibility should be given to a particular team member, and likewise. Then consultation and participation of workers. So we have to communicate all these policy statements, policy elements to all types of workers, and we must motivate the workers to participate in each and every activity. That may be an activity of competition, that may be an activity of some motivations, etc. But we have to motivate these workers to participate in the occupational health and safety activities. Then under clause 5.1, leadership and commitment, top management shall demonstrate leadership and commitment by ensuring integration of HSMS requirements into the organizational business process. So integration is the key factor. ensuring OHSMS objectives are compatible with strategic direction of the organizations. So we have already decided some strategic direction. So whether this OHS policy is compatible with the strategic direction or not, whether all these OHS elements on this management system requirements are integrated or not, ensuring necessary resources. So we have to identify the resources required to implement this OHS policy, to implement this ISO 45000. So whether these necessary resources are given by the top management or not. Then ensuring the OHSMS achieves its intended results. So whatever the result required or expected by this top management, whether that result is achieved or not. Supporting other relevant management roles to demonstrate their leadership, ensuring and promoting continual improvement, then developing, leading and promoting a safety culture, ensuring processes for consultation and participation of workers are established and implementation. So the safety culture, continual improvement, consultation and participation of workers, these are the key elements which are covered under this leadership and commitments. So top management can decide the particular leader, and under that leadership we have to follow all these types of parameters. Then leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. Those who look only to the past and the present are certain to miss the future. Changes is the law of life. So we have to change, we have to modify, we have to rectify some of the operations, some of the steps involved in the organizations, some of the procedures which are already set up in the organizations, etc. So change is the law of life. So depending on the requirement under the ISO 45001, so we have to change the factors according to these guidelines. Then under clause 5.4, consultation and participation of workers. So involvement with decision making, the organization shall establish, implement and maintain processes for consultation and participation of worker at all levels in the development, planning, implementation, evaluation and actions for improvement of the OHSMS. Because worker is the person who is actually is on the platform where actual operations are there. So worker should be involved in the development, in the planning, in the implementation, in the evaluation and in the action part. Because if the worker is satisfied with all these things, it means there are many parameters can be satisfied under this ISO 45001. Because this is related to the occupational health and safety elements. So majority of the safety part is related to directly to the worker. Determine, remove or minimize barriers to the participations. So if there are some restrictions in the previous guidelines in your organizations, you have to dilute that stringent norms. You have to change some norms to motivate the workers to participate in each and every activity. Emphasize the consultation of non-managerial workers in establishing the needs of interested parties, policy, roles and responsibilities, objectives, control for outsourcing, procurement and contractors, audit programs and continued improvements. So the emphasis is mainly should be on the interested parties, what are their needs, what exactly the policies, what are their roles and responsibilities, what objectives and targets are decided by the top management, which points or the techniques or the processes are can't be covered or satisfied by the organization, so that our outsourcing is needed. So we have to control this outsourcing. We have to depend on this outsourcing. So that is why we should upgrade ourselves, upgrade the knowledge, upgrade the technological changes. And if you are going to upgrade all these things, then the controlling of this outsourcing is easier task. Then under clause 6, there is planning. So actions to address risk and opportunities, in that 6.11 general, 6.12 hazard identification and assessment of risk and opportunities. So that point is very important under this planning point, because this ISO 45000 is focusing on this hazard and risk management. So these previous incidents, we have to consider these previous incidents, historical data, then organizations of work, that all the activities under the organization, routine and non-routine activities, emergency situations, human factors, design of workplace, and changes. So all these parameters should be studied to identify the hazard, to identify the risk and the level of risk. And on the basis of this hazard identification and risk assessment, our goal is to find out the opportunities under this hazard identification and risk assessment. Determine of legal requirement and other requirements. So whatever the legal requirements with reference to the acts and rules, and if other requirements are also there, some other standards are also there, some other regulatory agencies are also there, then we have to think of for the determination of this all parameters included under this occupational health and safety management system, that is ISO 45001. Then 6.1.4 focusing on the planning action. So this promotes the integration into OHSMS and other areas. So this planning clearly focusing on the occupational health and safety management systems. Under 6.2, OHS objectives and planning of to achieve the objectives, we have to do some planning, and that is the different parts, different subclauses, that is OHS objectives and planning to achieve OHS objectives. So we have to decide some objectives, establish at relevant functions and levels measurable, take account of risk, opportunities and consultation with workers, monitor and communicate and update it. So before deciding this objective, we have to communicate with the worker, we have to communicate with the managerial level person, we have to communicate with the third parties, external parties, stakeholder, etc. to focus on these occupational health and safety elements. And after these discussions and reviews, we can decide this occupational health and safety objectives. So after deciding this objective, we have to plan to achieve this OHS objective. So what are the resources needed? So resources may be men, that is persons, that may be material, that may be money, that may be some point of or some type of management. Some, in some cases, some technology changes, in some cases, some major changes, in some cases, some expansions, etc. So whatever the resources which is required to achieve this OHS objective, you should ask for these resources to the top management through the project manager. So what resources, when these resources are needed, and by whom we can purchase these resources, by whom we can opt for these resources, how actions will be integrated into business practices. So all these plannings should be done to achieve these OHS objectives. Then under clause 7, that is support. So under this support, these all resources should be make it available to the workers, to the all employees in the organizations. Competence, that is expertise persons, expertise guidance by the third parties, consultant, or by the internal stakeholders can be given to this support for this expertise conclusions. Then awareness, that awareness programs, some conductions, some trainings, some signages, some symbols, some pledges, etc. can be taken off. Some conduction of some of the programs to aware about this ISO 45001 elements should be aware to all the employees. Then communication, so that may be a general, internal or external communication should be done. So what exactly this ISO 45001 is, why we are going for this ISO 45001, what are the benefits of this ISO 45001, what is the benefit of ISO 45001 of our organization to you. To you means the stakeholders, that may be external communications. So to the vendors, to the customers, to the external parties, etc. So all these things should be communicated to the internal stakeholders, that is all the employees of companies, as well as to the external communicator. So all the stakeholders are included in that communication. Then documented information. So all these points which have already discussed should be documented, and creating and updating. So whatever we have, we are going to update, what we are going to create, all these things should be documented. Then control of this documented information should be decided by the project management, how to control this documented information, through the hard copies, through the soft copies, through the mailing, through the drives, etc., whatever it may be. So depending on the type of organization, we have to decide this documented information control. Then under clause 8, that is nothing but the operation. So operational planning and controlling. So in the first point, that is general. Second is eliminating hazards and reducing the OHS risk. So our focus in the operation is first to identify the hazards, then we have to go for eliminating hazard. So how to eliminate or skip or remove this hazard? So we have to think of how to reduce this OHS risk. So how to reduce that risk? Then we have to go for some changes, we have to go for some substitution method, we have to go for some elimination methods, we have to go for some complete replacement, technological replacement, that may be a material replacement, that may be a manpower replacement, etc. So depending on the type of hazard, depending on the type of risk, this elimination or reduction should be decided. So hierarchy of control principle can be used for this 8.1.2. Management of change. So that again depend on the type of hazard, the level of hazard and level of the risk. Then outsourcing, if your internal stakeholder, that is the company employees, is not adequate to satisfy all the requirement of this ISO 45001, then you should go for the outsourcing. Then some procurement and contractors can help you for achieving these objectives of these occupational health and safety elements. Then 8.2, emergency preparedness and responses. So depending on the type of process, depending on the type of materials, depending on the types of hazards and risks, we have to plan some emergency prepared, that is nothing but the on-site emergency plan, off-site emergency plan, evacuation plan, some mock drills, some fire drills, etc. So we have to plan all these things, that is under the emergency preparedness and responses. Then under clause number 9, that is performance evaluation. So if all these things are planned, all these things are implemented, all these things are conducted or running, then we have to check the performance of the particular OHS objective, OHS systems. So for that purpose, we have to monitor, we have to measure the parameters, we have to analyze the parameters, and we have to evaluate the parameters. So there are different instruments, equipments, some techniques, some methodologies which can be adopted for monitoring, measuring, analysis, and evaluations. So on the basis of that, we can result into the evaluation of these compliances. So if the compliances are there, then we have to go for this gap reduction or bridging the gaps. So non-conformity, if there are some non-conformity, then we have to go for some corrective actions. Then you can go for the internal audits, that is internal audit program. So these internal audit members are the expertise or the expert member from this particular area, that is occupational health and safety. So they can observe, they can supervise, they can point out the hazards, the risk, or the wrong techniques which is adopted by some of the employees, some unsafe conditions, some unsafe acts, or some other points which is directly related to the occupational health and safety. So on the basis of these points, observations, we can go for the corrective actions, and all these things can be documented and that can be shown in the management review meeting. So management representative can explain all these parameters, what exactly we have identified first, then what we have decided the objectives, targets, then what we have implemented, what resources we have adopted, then what strategies we have adopted, what implementations and executions are there, and still what are the gaps are there. So to fill these gaps, again, what is the scope of improvement? So again, there are some resources may required for that purpose. So that is discussed under this management review meeting. So the 10th point is nothing but the improvement. So on the basis of these points discussed under this management review meetings, there may be some incidents even after the execution of these objectives or plan decided by this ISO 45000. There may be some NCs and CAs which is needed for the next stage improvement, and there is always some continual improvement. So that is the last point to achieve this objective, to achieve these processes as far as this occupational health and safety is concerned. So these are the different 10 clauses which is covered under this ISO 45000, right? So now we have discussed about the ISO 45001, we have discussed about the OSHA's 18001. Now what exactly the difference between this OSHA's 18001 and ISO 45001? So leadership and commitment is a point which is covered under this ISO 45001, which is missed in OSHA's 18001. So the focus is on the health and safety systems are incorporated into the overall organization planning, which is missed part in the OSHA's 18001. We look at the opportunities presented by the health and safety risk factors as well as the threats. So threats and opportunities are the parts under the continual improvement in the ISO 45001. Emphasis on worker participation in development and operation of OHSMS. So this is again the focus, that is workers' participation in all types of activities to develop and to operate the OHS elements. Focus on prevention of ill health, including mental ill health and immediate and long-term causes of injury or ill health. So that is included in the ISO 45001. Preventive action clause within OSHA's 18001 will be dropped as considered integral to risk management requirement with ISO 45001. So in the OSHA's 18001, there is a corrective action and preventive action in the 9th clause, but in the ISO 45001, only corrective action is there. So preventive action is a integral part of that risk management requirement. Then promote integrated management approach by closer alignment to environmental and quality statements. So it is already from the ISO family. So it is similar to ISO 9001 and ISO 14001, which is not the case for the OSHA's 18001. So this ISO 45001 implementations is done, that is May 2016. This draft international standard, that is ISO 45001, disapproved, that is 28% rejected in May 2016. Then in June 2016, this project committee 283 meeting to review feedback, comments received and determine the schedule. Then November 16, this meeting agrees majority, that is revised standard 45,000.2, that is second revision. Then February 2016, this project committee 283 completes revise this draft international standard ISO 45001.2. Then in the March 2017, this draft international standard issued to the national bodies for consultation, and in July 2017, ballot for approval and ISO 45000 publication now likely to be November 2016. It is already published and it is implemented from the March 2018, right? So what is the forced draft international standard? What are their technical specification, etc. can be discussed after this implementation or execution of this ISO 45001 publications. So there are 88% approval from the for this July 2017 published DIS, and only 11% disapproved. So this ISO 45000 will now progress to an international standard status. It is already progressed, meeting September 23rd to review comments. It is already done, and November early Q1 2018 if FDIS is there. So it is already decided that from the March 2018 it is implemented, and it should be completed before March 21. So after this ISO 45001, there are again the next plan is plan, prepare and engage and assess. So we have to observe the points after the execution or certification of this 45001. So after that only, again, whatever the loopholes, whatever the drawbacks, whatever the negative points are included in that 45001, that can be corrected in the next stage. Okay, thank you.